Hey everyone, today we're talking about a seriously powerful tool for making decisions. And it's not in your head, it's actually in your heart. We're going to unpack how you can tap into this deep inner wisdom, especially for those moments when you feel completely lost. So let's just dive right in. I mean, think about it. We're just bombarded with advice all day long, right? From our friends, our family, all the experts online. Everybody seems to have an opinion on what we should do. So when you're up against a huge, life-changing decision, how in the world do you filter out all that noise and find the answer that's actually right for you? And that really brings us to our first section here, the problem of knowing. We're going to explore why making those big calls can feel so impossible and why we're always looking for answers outside of ourselves. You know that feeling, right? When you're at a crossroads and you just find yourself thinking, please just give me a sign, any sign, something to tell you that you're going in the right direction. It's such a human thing to do, to look for that little nudge from the universe before we take a big leap. But here's the tricky part. What happens when the universe seems to send you mixed signals? One sign points this way, another points in the complete opposite direction. How do you know which one is your sign? This is exactly why we need something way more reliable than just random clues. We need a fine-tuned internal compass. And that leads us right into section 2, your inner guidance system. Because here's the good news. We all have one. It's built in. It's this amazing innate system that ancient traditions have known about for centuries. And what's wild is that modern science is now starting to prove it's real. We're talking about something called deep intuition. And listen, this is not just some random hunch or a fleeting gut feeling. This is a really profound sense of knowing that you can actually learn to tap into on purpose, on demand, especially in those make-or-break moments when you desperately need clarity. So, where does this knowing even come from? Well, get this, it's fascinating. Scientists have discovered that the human heart has about 40,000 specialized cells called sensory neurites. These cells create their own independent neural network. People call it the heart brain or the little brain in the heart, and it can learn, remember, and feel, totally separate from the brain in your head. And this isn't some new discovery, this is ancient wisdom. For example, indigenous traditions like the Cherokee have this beautiful term for it, shante, ishta. It translates to the single eye of the heart. It's this idea of a wisdom that sees with perfect clarity what is true for you in any moment, without any judgment or outside noise. Okay, now for all the skeptics out there, let's get into section 3, the science of intuition, because this is where things get really interesting. Modern science is actually starting to measure what ancient wisdom has always talked about. Researchers are looking at the brains of monks and longtime meditators to see what's physically happening when we access these deep states of awareness. And it seems like the key is a specific brainwave frequency called gamma. You can think of it as a superbrain state. It's this really high frequency state that's linked to peak performance, intense focus, and crazy high levels of awareness. When your brain hits that gamma state, all its different parts start working together in harmony, giving you access to these incredible levels of perception and, you guessed it, deep intuition. Now check this out. This slide shows how our brains physically change. In our normal day-to-day state, there's a part of our brain, the orientation area, that's super active. Its job is to tell us where we end and the rest of the world begins. But during deep meditation, the activity there just quiets right down. That's why people so often report feeling the sense of oneness or deep connection. Their brain is literally blurring the line between self and everything else. And this example is maybe even more mind-blowing. It shows the power of our awareness to change our reality. So normally when you feel pain, the pain registration center in your brain lights up. But with focused meditation, the activity actually moves over to the pain interpretation center. The physical sensation might still be there, but the brain is actively changing what it means. We're literally redefining our relationship to it. It's incredible. Okay, so let's clear something up, because this is a really common point of confusion. Is intuition the same thing as instinct? Well, not exactly. And the difference is actually really important if you want to use this tool well. Think of it like this. Instinct is our hardwired primal survival programming. It's based on our collective past. It's the thing that screams, dark alley, danger. But intuition is way more sophisticated. It's like your inner street smarts. It's assessing the present moment. So your intuition might scan that same dark alley and notice, it's actually pretty well lit. It's short and there's no one there. And it gives you a feeling that it's totally safe to walk through this time. It can actually override instinct with real-time intelligence.
So the million-dollar question, how do we actually do this? How do we talk to our heart? Well, this next section is the how-to. It's a really practical technique you can use to start asking your own heart for answers. When you go to ask your heart a question, there are just a few simple rules of thumb to get the clearest signal. First, keep it brief. A short phrase or sentence is perfect. Second, be direct and to the point. And third, always make it personal. This is about discovering your truth, not figuring out things for anyone else. All right, here's a simple 4-step technique to calibrate your own system. First, you create what's called heart-brain harmony. You just put your attention on your chest, right over your heart, and slow down your breathing. Then, to learn your body's signals, you ask a simple test question that you know is true, like, is my name, and then say your name. And just notice what happens in your body. That feeling, that's your yes. Then you do the opposite. Ask something you know is false to feel your no. So what are you actually feeling for? Well, for a lot of people, a yes feels like an expansion, a warmth, a lightness, an openness in their chest. And a no usually feels like the opposite, a contraction, a tightness, or just a subtle feeling of being shut down. Your only job is to notice your unique signals. There's no right or wrong way for it to feel. Okay, so we know how to ask. We know how to listen for the answer, but there's one final and maybe most important piece of this whole puzzle, and that's having the courage to actually listen to what your heart tells you, especially if it goes against what your logical mind thinks it wants. The poet Rumi said it perfectly. Without thinking of the letters, listen to the language of the heart. It's just a totally different language. It's not analytical, it's not made of words, it's a felt sense, a direct knowing that completely bypasses our overthinking brain. It's about feeling, not just thinking. And this is the most important thing to remember. You can trust this guidance system. You can trust it completely. The answers that come from your heart are always objective. They're never critical or mean. And your heart will never, ever, ever tell you to do something that would harm yourself or anyone else. It is the purest, most reliable source of truth you will ever have. So the guidance system is already built in, the wisdom is there, and it's just waiting for you. The only real question left to ask yourself is, are you willing to quiet the noise, tune into that signal, and really, truly listen? Because the answer could change absolutely everything.